Hi.
Hi, Jamie. Good morning.
Good morning. I
How are
just
you
realized
today?
my door is open in the background. Hopefully, that's
Oh,
just that's
the
Stella coming in or out,
okay. Love
now
it.
that
Love it.
we now that we record from home.
Yeah. I miss Stevie actually. This is the first time I think since we've had Stevie that I've been at home and she hasn't been here with me.
Yeah.
Brian took her to Chelan this weekend. He's there with family, and it feels very weird to be at home without a dog. I've like
Oh,
seen
that
her
is weird.
I've seen her
Yeah.
water bowl a few times and it's just like
Oh.
makes me kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah. When
But
are they're coming back today?
yeah, they'll be back in
Good.
like 45 minutes actually. So,
Okay, let's
yeah.
do this so you can have your reunion.
Awesome. Well, this is episode number 7.
Can you believe it?
Isn't that crazy? I think 7 is my lucky number. That might be a little cliche, but
I think
I,
it's great.
I think
I
is
yeah.
that everyone's favorite number? I think 7 is like a
It's
popular.
common. It's
Yeah.
definitely common.
I should come up with a more unique favorite number, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
number 7. It's exciting.
Well, speaking of seven, this is our 14-year wedding anniversary. So seven
I
times
was
two, which
I was gonna say that. Happy anniversary to you and
thank
Chad.
you. Thank
What's the
you.
secret? What's the secret to 14 years?
You know what? It's that there is, don't do it. That's the, just kidding. It's so funny. I heard something recently that I was like, "What? Is that true?" I don't know if I read it, watched it on Instagram or listened to it on podcast. Somebody was talking about like when we westernized marriage, like the institute of marriage, that at the time people were only expected to live to like early 40s. Like
Oh wow.
they were married younger, like, 13, 14 years old, but they were not expected to live like all these lifetimes with a person. And I just think it's so fascinating that like now we are, I mean, there's a good chance we're in it until, 80s or 90s if we do it right. And
Right.
that's a long time with
That's
one person.
interesting. Yeah, the same thing with like Social Security when they originally instituted that.
Yeah.
The life expectancy was way lower than it was now. So Social
Yeah.
Security would cost the government way less than it does now. But
It's crazy.
yeah, it's
Yeah. And in all seriousness, it's funny because I was like, oh, I wonder if Austin will say anything. And I was like, in my brain, I was like, I wonder if he would ask, what's the secret? It's so funny that that's literally what you said.
I literally wrote it down. I saw your Instagram story this morning and I was
What's the
like,
secret?
"Oh, got to talk about that. What's the secret?"
Well, and
Uh,
I will say in all seriousness, I do think that one of the things, and it's like I was thinking about where do we get like where do we find ourselves in like little ruts and then what
yeah,
brings us out of it? And often
other than Connie.
other than Connie, who did reach out last week, and I was like, perfect timing. I feel like for us, there is this rut of lack of pursuing one another in different
Mm,
aspects. It could be emotionally, it could be intimacy, it could be just like spending time to it, quality time, all these different things. If there is not an intentional pursuit of the other person, then we can find ourselves in a bit of a rut. And as soon as we like pick up one of those areas and pursue the other person in that regard, it 9 times out of 10, it's fine. That
wow.
1% is, where we see Connie. But other yeah, I just feel like that is one of the things I feel like in a healthy relationship for us is really being intentional to pursue the other person in those kind of those different areas,
That's it. That's great. That's the
That's it.
secret.
That's all I got. Yeah.
I think that's a great life lesson. Brian and I have been together for 7 years, so we're about
Yeah.
half into it where
Okay.
you are. I
Yeah.
guess you've probably been. Is this your 14-year wedding anniversary, or how long
Yes.
you've
So
been?
we've been
Okay,
together for 16 years and
okay,
then
gotcha.
married for 14, happily
Cool.
for 5. But no, just kidding.
And
Classic.
those aren't consecutive. That's like if you were to
No,
choose
of
the
the 14, there's
yeah, yeah,
about a
yeah.
5. Yeah, no, just kidding. No, we're
Hey,
great. We're
that's
good.
that's a decent percentage.
Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary. I'm
Thank you.
happy to have known you guys, and you're a great couple. And I know you like to joke about your issues and stuff, but
Totally.
knowing you guys, like you are a very awesome, just like you're an inspirational couple in a lot of ways.
Well,
So
that's
you
very
won
kind of you to
you
say.
won family goals when our theory awards a couple years ago. You won the
And remember what happened immediately after my
oh yeah
children acted a fool.
No, that was great.
Yeah, it's great. It is. That's the reality. I actually on my post today for chat, I was like, it's just total perfection. Everything's, I mean, it's just, the reality is like, everybody struggles. It's every
Yeah.
relationship. And I honestly think, because what I also found out today, it's National Daughters Day.
Oh,
which is very ironic because I yelled at both of my kids this morning. It was like immediately regretting how I treated them this morning. I was like, all that to say, I just feel like we are just naturally such selfish creatures. And so this whole idea of when we can put aside that part of our natural instinct and put others before us and put our partner's needs, our kids' needs, it tends to be well received is what I've learned. So yeah.
100%. Well, not to derail the conversation, but I'm pretty sure I just saw Stella take a little pee in the back right behind you.
Oh, well, you know what? Appropriate. Like, here I am pouring my heart out, and she is like being mischievous as
she's
always.
one of your 4 daughters, so
we are female heavy in this house.
Oh yeah,
that is true.
So how are you feeling about fall? The weather definitely took a change the last couple days.
You know what? I almost put on a black hat and was going to be in all black mourning the loss of summer. I don't know. I want to embrace it. I know people in the Pacific Northwest are like, I just feel like everybody who's from here is celebrating this change. And I feel a little bit of the seasonal depression coming on. And I am like, it's like, I think for me, it's looking at the weather and being like, where is the sun? When will I be outside again? I just start to feel a little bit anxious. And so I don't know. I'm going to try really hard to like put little life hacks in place to avoid that. But, growing up in California, this is not my jam. It feels early.
100%. I think there's probably more people that grew up in Washington who have like this special place in their heart for the change of the season and the fall and stuff. And growing up in Washington myself, I definitely do appreciate the change of seasons. Like the fall colors are beautiful.
That's true.
Yeah. Yep. I was on a walk the other day and I was just like looking at my phone, like whatever, scrolling while on my walk. And then I was like, let me look up for a second. And I looked up and it was just all these fall, beautiful reds and oranges everywhere. And so I love that. I do enjoy like I'm looking out my door right now and it's like, I could see rain coming down sideways. And there's something nice about like, that almost feels like it gives you an excuse to stay inside and to just be lazy and to like hang out on the couch, which because summers are so nice here, like there's this like expectation that you'll just be outside all the time. So that is one of the nice things about fall too, is it kind of gives you that time to just like I don't know, just to be,
I hear you.
To relax and
a little bit of, yes. And what's funny is on Friday, it was such a nice day. And I actually felt really sick on Friday. I had like a really bad headache and I ended up laying in bed a lot of the day. And I was like, I was struggling so much because it was so nice outside. And I was like, I cannot waste this. And then on a day like today, I'm like, this is what I needed Friday. So that just almost a little bit of reset, indoors is definitely what this, I don't know, evokes.
Yeah.
But,
I love it for the next few weeks. And then I'll definitely hit a point where I'm like, all right, ready for the sun again. And it's when you look at the forecast and you're like, and you just know based on history that for the next 6 months, we're not going to have, we'll have a couple nice days in there and but it'll be different. Is that your coffee?
Yeah, that's so loud. It's like, I am here and I am turning off. And I think what Chen and I always talk about too is the first couple of months going into this season, it's not so bad because we have, there's all the holidays, Halloween's coming up and then it's Thanksgiving and then it's Christmas. And I'm like, we can kind of push through. It's when it's after the new year and it's gray for another 3 months and there's like nothing happening in life. That's where we get a little more, what's the word? Cabin fever,
Yeah. 100%. So, I turned my my heater on for the very first time this morning. I woke up, my house is like freezing. I'm like, okay, it's time.
Okay, it's time.
Thankfully, it works.
How's your new house? How is everybody settling in?
House is good. Yeah, it's pretty much almost to the finish line. There's a couple last things that we're doing. There's Hi, Stella.
I mean, she's staring at me and I'm like, go around. The door is open.
Yeah, I mean, super happy with how everything turned out.
Yeah.
It was home all weekend and being by myself, I just kind of like I honestly rested a lot this weekend and
Yeah.
just kind of
I'm
like
sorry. Did you?
what
I love you.
actually did. Yeah.
Yeah, you just
So
did a 10K yesterday and then like totally rested the
yeah,
rest
yeah,
of the
yeah.
weekend.
Let's
That's
actually let's go
hilarious.
back a
Okay,
week
let's talk about our
actually.
weekends.
Yes. I want to before we talk about the weekends, I want to go like just the last week after post Ironman.
Yes,
So pretty
please
much
update us.
Monday through Thursday of last week, I did almost nothing physical. Like
Okay.
I did my 10,000 steps. I walked Stevie, but that's it.
Okay.
I did no other forms of workout.
Good.
And felt very nice. This question that I've been having the last week
Yeah.
is how do I know when my body actually needs rest versus if I'm just using that as an excuse to be lazy? Like, where is that? Like, how do I know where that line is?
Yeah.
Because there's been a couple like this morning, I was gonna wake up and go to the gym,
Yeah.
and I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna sleep in, and I'm like,
Sure.
do I need rest because I did the tough mudder yesterday, or am I just being lazy? And I don't know like how to answer that question.
Yeah. I don't know either because I don't do what you do. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you seem like the type who even if you were like, I'm actually sleeping in because I'm being lazy, I don't see you being the type that ever would let it go so far that it's out of hand. Like
Right.
I feel like if you allowed yourself to be lazy, I actually think that would maybe be beneficial sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
I
think
don't.
so.
Go ahead.
Well, I was actually thinking about this. I know we're kind of skipping our weekend recap, but we saw each other on Saturday at the UW football game, which we'll circle back to.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking about with you is we had a brief conversation about sports with you. And from my understanding, you did baseball, but it feels like even since I've known you, since the last 5-6 years, you've really come into like a different season of life with your physical activities. Would you agree to that? Or were you like doing stuff previously, like in your teens physically?
Good question. So I grew up not super into sports. Like you said, I did play baseball. I played like T-ball, and then I think I played through like 5th or 6th grade, but
Okay.
I couldn't actually tell you.
Yeah.
Never was super sporty. I definitely had more creative interests. I did like
Yeah.
music
Theater,
and
sure.
theater, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. This is as like vain as this is gonna sound. I was kind of a chubbier kid. Like it was something I was insecure about all growing up. I never felt comfortable in my skin. And then I think around junior year of high school is when my parents moved. We moved to a new house,
Okay.
and the house had a pool. And I distinctly remember having that pool as a reason that I decided I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna try to get in shape.
Okay.
Because I knew that we'd have this pool and I knew I'd be like hanging out around it and I wanted to be able to take my shirt off without being insecure.
Yeah.
So my junior year of high school, I lost 40 pounds.
Whoa.
And yes, I went, it was pretty like, pretty in a pretty short amount of time too.
Yeah.
Like I basically like all of a sudden started actually thinking about what I was eating for the first time pretty much. Started running. I did the Chambers Bay loop, probably
Yep.
over 100 times. That was kind of my go-to.
Okay.
And I lost a bunch of weight. And then kind of since then pretty much the junior of high school. So I would have been 17. Now I'm 28. So for the last 10 plus years, health has become more of an important thing to me, and working out and these physical challenges and stuff are, have become a part of my life. So definitely
Okay.
the first, if I'm almost, the first 2/3 of my life never was important to me.
Yeah.
The last third of my life has become a big part of my life. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like because I feel like you started doing some of these monthly challenges within the time that I've known you, maybe. Like you started,
yeah,
how many years have you been doing this? A
I think
monthly challenge?
I think my first one was in January 2019. So
Okay. So
yeah.
I joined Theory in 2018. So that would make
Yeah.
sense. And I, from the outside, have kind of seen this progression. And I think maybe that's part of why, because honestly, like I don't know if I vocalized it really well last week, but watching you do the Ironman and tracking this, it really felt like you were doing this big accomplishment. I know you've done other physical things, and maybe I just wasn't super aware of like, oh, if you did it, maybe you've done a triathlon. I don't know that. But I guess this was like the first thing I was actually more aware of and more tracking, not just the event itself, but the practices leading up to it and all the training. And I just thought like, it's pretty crazy to think that you've started this journey, and I'm referencing your monthly challenge that you picked, because in the beginning there was a little bit more of like a physical aspect challenge to it. Then you've
Yeah.
intermixed some fun, like a dessert or a wine every day, something
Yeah.
different. So all that to say, after I saw you and we talked a little bit about sports, I was thinking how it's really interesting that you've taken on this lifestyle not that you're like later in life, but in this season that it's become a thing. It wasn't something you grew up with and have just kind of continued on that trajectory. It's kind of like you've chosen this, and now you're seeking these, these next kind of milestones in that journey,
Right.
which I think is awesome. And I think the fact that like you're debating, am I being lazier or does my body need the rest? Like, I don't know. To me, the fact that even your brain is like contemplating that speaks that you're probably a highly active person,
Yeah, I really enjoy being active. I think like it's something that makes me feel good. Like it's I'm not doing it to try to like show off or anything. Like it's really something that like makes my like I notice a significant difference in my day when I work out during the day versus when I don't. Or especially like the 10,000 step one. That's something that I've kept going for I think almost 2 years straight. And that for me is like, it forces me to get outside and go on a walk and get fresh air every single day.
Right.
And no matter what, like no matter how I'm feeling that day, what my mental health's like, that always 100% of the time, it makes me feel better than I felt before. Like, there's been hundreds of days when I'm dreading going on a walk. It'll be raining or it'll be dark out. Maybe I had a long day. Like even last week, I had a really long day. I was tired. I was feeling kind of sick. And I got home and I'm like, I got to finish my steps. And I felt so much better afterwards. So, I just noticed a difference in my mood and my, just my choices throughout the day when I do something to get my body moving. That for whatever reason wasn't a thing growing up for me, but like, and I don't blame anybody for that. It's just that I think I discovered it, I guess, like in my late teens, early 20s. And now it's just been something that's honestly like changed my life for the better. So
I actually think I love that too, because we took we took Allie to UW this weekend for this cheer event. And I was thinking about, just this idea of introducing her to colleges and just that season of life that is going to be here before we know it. And how I loved finding like my independence when I went to college. Like, and I feels like you found a little bit of this pre-college, but at the same time, like it really is like, I know your parents are active and your brother's active, but like you are in a little bit of a different like lane in this regard. When I see your family as a whole, and I just feel like it really is interesting that you've taken on that. I don't know, to me, this is like a little bit of like, you found that for yourself and you're really pursuing that. And I think that's amazing. So yeah, it's cool.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie. Mm-hmm. So speaking of the UW game, I was thinking about that. And I think when we started this podcast, part of the thing that was funny is like, we were in such different seasons of life. And the UW game is a perfect example of that. We were both there together, but for very, very different reasons.
Totally. Yes.
I was there because I was with a bunch of my college friends. I was sitting in the young alumni section. I tailgated beforehand.
I love it.
You were there because your daughter was cheerleading at halftime.
Yeah. She was cheerleading at halftime. And I will say the whole day as overall was pretty interesting. We dropped her off there around 1 p.m. and we went from the campus over to U Village, and just the tiny commute of that distance, it was so eye-opening. Like just the people that we saw, the students, we went through kind of like the university district and then over to like this shopping area or whatever. And I did not go to a school like this. I went to a small private college in California. I mean, it was just it was just nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that sounds bad. It was amazing. It was a wonderful school. It was nothing size wise in comparison to University of Washington.
Yeah.
And so it kind of blows my mind. Like we didn't have sororities and fraternities. And so to see all the houses, and also just the funny, like in my brain, I'm sometimes still like in college, like my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm young, I'm in college. And then I see college students and I'm like, I am not in college at all. And so it was really fascinating. So
I felt that same way. Yeah. Like I really, I mean, seeing the college students and how young they looked made me feel so old. Cause
That's
part
funny.
of me is like, oh, there's no way we look that young, but we did look that young when we were in college. But these kids look like they're still in high school, which I mean, some of them are fresh out of high school, but
right.
Yeah, it feels like not that long ago, but at the same time, I feel like it feels like a different lifetime that I was back at college. So
I had a funny that at the concession stands, you might have been with me. I don't know. I was getting drinks, and my friend Melissa next to us got carded, and she was like, she kind of shouted over like, "Oh, Jamie, I just got carded," and I asked the gentleman who was checking, ringing me up, like, "Oh, did you want to see?" And he was like, "No."
So rude.
I was like, okay, sir.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't want to show you anyways. So, but it's just, that's so funny. I mean, and that is I've been walking with a friend. Her name's Tiffany. We go walking almost every Tuesday and Thursday if we can. Our kids go to school together. And so we usually after drop off, go to school, and we walk around University of Puget Sound. And we'll go to their coffee shop that is, their campus cafe. Yeah. And when we first started going, the people that were working at the register, he would ask, "Are you a student or faculty? Because if you are, you get a discount." Yeah. And so they would add, "Are you a student?" And then lately it's, "Are you faculty?" Oh. And I just felt like, I wish you would just have the common courtesy, just offer that I'm a student in later in life. It's just funny. It is. I mean, this is the thing. This is 40. This is to be expected. But
here's the thing though, because anybody can go to college. Like there's no age limit on when you can go to college.
Exactly.
Brian has a family member who just got her master's degree, and I think she's in her 60s. And she just went back to college and really had this passion to pursue higher education. And it's really anybody, any age can be in college. And I think that's one of the cool things that for me going to UW, that was one of my favorite parts, was just like the diversity of people that I met. I grew up definitely around people that look like me and believe the same things that I believe. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit about the game about being sheltered. I definitely felt sheltered, and you were talking about how your daughters are probably pretty sheltered too. Yeah. And I don't think being sheltered is a bad thing at all. Like I think there are a lot of things in this world that we probably should be sheltered from. Sure. Yeah. Especially as kids. But going to UW for me was the first time that I met a lot of different types of people that I had really never met before, and kind of started opening my eyes to different belief systems and different ways of thinking. And even certain classes that I took, like professors had things that they teach on that were like, wow, that is totally different than what I grew up believing or what I've ever thought about before. So I think there's definitely an importance to surrounding yourself with people that don't believe the same things as you do. And like, that's totally okay. And that's great.
And okay, so I think that's really interesting too, because it sounds like you received all of that really well. And I think for me, sometimes my concern with my girls is that, I mean, if we say crap in front of Piper, she gets a little bit like, oh, how dare you? I sometimes worry putting them in such a sheltered lifestyle now, when they do go out and explore the world, is going to be this shocking thing. And so we talked about that, a couple episodes, we joked about the drinking game that I played with my kid,
Yeah.
But just that idea of trying to be like, introduce them to things I don't want it to be so shocking. I want to have them, experience different types of people, different types of culture, and so, it's encouraging to hear that you felt you grew up one way, went and experienced life in a different way, and received it really well. And it wasn't this like totally, setback of what is my life? What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do the same thing with Stevie, you know, introduce her to different dogs
Yeah.
and different environments.
Yes.
And yeah.
You guys are the best.
I'm convinced that the reason that our dogs, does Stella still do well in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
convinced because a lot of dogs don't do well in the car. Like I have a lot of
Oh,
friends
sure. Okay.
who can't do road trips with their dogs because they
Okay.
have to medicate them on road trips or whatever. Stevie and Stella do so well in the car. I'm convinced because at 12 weeks old, we drove them all the way from Texas all the way back to
Yeah.
Seattle, and yeah, they were exposed to that environment early on,
100%.
and now they can totally
Oh,
handle
that's
it
so
with
interesting.
yeah, and
The only
maybe
thing,
yeah. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say the only thing Stella does is doesn't matter where I leave her in the car. If I get out to go do something, I always come back. She's in this driver's seat.
Oh, nice.
It's her one thing. She will, even if I keep her in the back, she is like just wants to be driving. So
Yeah.
other than that, it's great. Yeah.
we should give them driving lessons.
That's next. That's next.
Cool. Well, so we saw each other Saturday. Did you do anything else Saturday besides the game? Or you talked about before and stuff?
Yeah. So we took Allie there Saturday. We dropped her off, and then we went over to U Village. I had a listing that was going live. And nice. So I had a little bit of paperwork left to do. And so we ended up getting to U Village. It was a rainy day again. And so we kind of just tucked into, it was outside of a coffee shop. So we weren't inside a shop, but anyways, and it was like a race against time, finishing paperwork while my computer was about to die. There was not an outlet near me. So, we did that.
Do you know which one you went to?
It was outside of Starbucks in U Village. And it was it was in between. It was like almost like a little lobby area between places. So, cool. But then after that, we went and we had lunch, and it was kind of funny. We went to this restaurant, and Chad walked up to the hostess, and he was like, can I get a table for two? And she said, what's your name? And he said, Chad. And she said, she said, Chad with a B? And he's like, no. Like the fact that she thought that was possibly a name, Chab. He's like, no, with a D. What? Yeah. She goes, oh, Chad. He's like, yes, Chad. And she's like, oh, sorry, I don't see your name on the list. He's like, no, I'm trying to make a reservation for two. And she was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that. Table for two. What was the name? And he's like, what's that name? He's like, Chad. And so then it was just funny. We put in our reservation, but the whole time I was like, Chab with a B. Like who would name their child that?
And so was that name on the list then?
No. So what happened? She was confused. She thought he was walking up to say, oh, I have a reservation for two. And my name is Chad with a B. Really, he was asking for a table for two. And clearly, yeah. So all that to say, we were giggly the whole time. And then when we came back, because our table was actually ready, it was, again, she was like, what was the name? And I so badly wanted to be like, Chab with a B. I wanted to like say it's Chab.
That is hilarious. I just looked up Chab real quick. Hold on. Okay. I just did a little research. And Chab is a surname, so it's a last name, which means
I love that you're researching
honey. This. It means honey, or it means bee, or it means earth. In many Mayan languages.
Wow. So maybe this gal was onto something.
Maybe has some Mayan history in her.
She's like, oh, Chab. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So normal. And then we walked to a couple stores. Our favorite is Restoration Hardware. It is just the most beautiful store there ever was. I think you and I talked about this a little bit. Like they should put a restaurant or a bar or something in there. Yeah. And then honestly, we thought we were going to have all this time. We were like, we're going to go shopping. At one point I was like, maybe we go to the movies. I don't know. Clearly we were not thinking well, because by the time we did lunch, went to a few shops, we grabbed a cup of coffee, it was time to go back, because the UW cheerleaders and the marching band put on like a whole performance for the families that brought their cheerleaders. And then we go into the stadium. So, so yeah, we ended up doing that. And then on our way home, we stopped and got burgers from, I like to call it Richard's, but you may call it Dick's.
Okay, here's the thing though. If you're telling your daughters this place is called Richard's, you're just sheltering them even more. So
you're right. I do the same with the sporting goods store.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I told you about my grandpa's rebranding from Dick to Richard.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was most of Saturday. It was great. Honestly, that UW event is it's so funny. Like I don't know, the whole event, it blew my mind. Let me just say this, the UW marching band, phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like the way that we were high enough in the stands, we could see everything. That blew my mind. The game was really fun. We only stayed till halftime, and then after Allie's performance, we snagged her and went to Richard's. And then yeah, but it's really fun. Like a bunch of us parents kind of hang out. We don't tailgate. Last year we did a little bit of tailgating. This year we kind of just collectively sat together and hung out. And then yeah, we're up in that nosebleed section every year. You were like, I'm actually nauseous. Like by the time you traveled up to our section, you were like, this is a trek.
I didn't tell you this, but I'm pretty sure that where you were sitting from where I was sitting was the farthest possible place in the entire stadium. I think it took me 20 minutes to walk from where I was sitting to where you were. But it was great. It was
we appreciate that. Was the highlight for us, is getting to chat with you. So yeah, and then the rest of our weekend yesterday was kind of chill. We went to a friend's house to watch we say we're going to go watch the Seahawks, but I did not watch a minute of the game. It's just a big social. Austin, don't ask those types of questions. I was there for the ribs and the dips. I honestly couldn't tell you. We chatted. You know my thing with football and how it works.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm right there with you. I go for the social environment and seeing my friends and all that. I know the rules. I pay attention a little bit. I'll watch a little bit, but yeah, I'm not super into it. I've always been impressed with people that know every player on every team and every stat, and I'm just like, that blows me away. I do not have the capacity in my brain for all that.
That's my dad. My dad has like Excel spreadsheets of players and teams, and his brain is just wired differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that was the gist of my weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, the game was fun. I took the light rail, so the parking around the stadium is kind of a pain.
Yep.
So I drove up to one of the light rail stations and then light rail down, which getting to the game was totally fine. Like it was, they're open seats.
Yeah.
Getting back to my car after the game, I was like trying to squeeze on to the light rail. I literally had my arms up. I was pressed against the glass.
No.
Because it was so packed. It was crazy, and the doors closed, and I literally had to like back up into somebody, and then I was the entire time just like pressed against the glass. And thankfully, it was only like 2 stops like that.
I was going to ask, how long is the ride?
But it took a while to start. So the doors closed, and then it sat there for a few minutes before it started moving. And I was like, are we over the weight capacity for this thing? Because there were probably thousands of people on this thing.
Right.
And maybe not thousands, hundreds, I don't know. But yeah, it was very packed, but definitely nice. The light rail system is nice. I was talking to somebody about this. Our light rail is actually surprisingly clean, and like it stayed decently nice since it opened, which is kind of crazy. Compared to other cities, like it's obviously not as expansive as New York or all these other big cities, but it's pretty nice.
I have not used it yet, but I think you were the one who suggested, and I feel like next year, if we do the UW Spirit Day again, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, it's great because you don't have to deal with parking and traffic around the stadium and stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with getting pressed against the glass afterwards. But,
I love
not too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, Saturday was the game. So I mentioned Monday through Thursday, I was pretty chill. Like I didn't do much physically.
Right.
Friday through Sunday, I went back.
I was going to say
same old stuff.
I saw a ride. I saw you track a long bike ride.
Yeah, I did a hike on Friday, and then a bike ride on Saturday, and then the Tough Mudder on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. He's back, folks. He is back. So when you're like, am I lazy or did I need to rest? I feel like you needed to rest today.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. The Tough Mudder was super fun. So that was yesterday morning. We had a group of, I think like 12 or 13 of us from Theory, and then a few friends, and Matt Main, Inspector we work with, was there.
Oh, that's awesome.
The Tough Mudder, have you like seen the Tough Mudder before? Or do you know
I've
kind of how?
It. Clear. I love that you didn't ask, have you done it? You were like, there's no way. I did see, and I saw your pictures of some of the stuff and the like obstacle going into an ice bath, essentially. Yeah.
Holy cow. It was, so I did it last year. I did it with Eric and Victoria last year. That was my first one.
Okay.
And then this year I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a group of people together. Like I thought it'd be, a fun team building thing, which it was. It was awesome. So some of us did the 5K and some of us did the 10K.
Okay.
And so it was great. We had quite a few people who signed up in the morning of, had different things come up, so weren't able to make it. But we had 13 of us that went through with it, and super fun. It's a lot of the obstacles are like great, team. I don't like, you can't do them by yourself. Like you need other people around you in order to go through them.
That's what it looked like. Yeah. Like you
so
made like a human ladder on one thing. Yeah.
That one was super hard. That was towards the end. But yeah, so I think, let me think of my takeaways from the Tough Mudder. One of them, super proud of Raul. He did it. He originally signed up for the 5K, and then it was like the turn off point for the 5K versus the 10K. And he's like, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to go with the 10K group.
Okay.
And so he did the 10K with us, and he just kept going the whole time. And at the end of it, he told me that it was the hardest thing he'd ever done.
Wow.
And so just super proud that he was able to work his way through it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, some of the obstacles are super, super hard.
Yeah.
And like, I think I'm a very clean OCD person, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I love about the Tough Mudder is you get muddy. You get so incredibly muddy. And like there's one big one where you literally just like the first mile or whatever, you're just kind of running, you're getting a little bit dirty. But then there's literally this thing where you're just like going waist deep into mud. And going into that, you're like, man, this is gonna suck. Like I don't want to do it. But then once you get out of it, you're like, oh, I guess like this is how it is.
This is who I am.
This is what it's gonna be like for the next 5 miles. So you just kind of embrace it and go with it. And there's this like, especially for me personally, like there's this almost this freeing thing about embracing that I'm not gonna be clean. I don't know. It's this weird psychological thing for me, because everything in my life's always so clean, so like orderly. And for me to just like know that that's not how it's going to be for the next couple hours is like this freeing thing for me. So, so you get super muddy. The two hardest obstacles for me, there's one where there was like a chain link fence above the water, probably 6 inches above the water.
Yeah.
And you have to like get into the water and you have to climb back. Like you have to put your head up so that you can breathe. And then you have to climb on this chain link fence backwards to get to the other side of the water.
So the fence is laying horizontally.
Yeah.
Over the water.
Over the water.
Okay.
And you're climbing. And then there's parts where it's like this hanging stuff you have to crawl through. And it's very claustrophobic feeling.
I was going to say.
Like, it almost feels like you're being like waterboarded. Like it's this really unpleasant thing. But that was one of the hardest ones for sure.
Do you struggle in with claustrophobia? Do you get mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's definitely. And then one of the coolest things about it too is like everybody's in it together. Like there's so many race type events where you're just going for speed, like you're trying to get through it as fast as you can. And some people do it that way for this, but for the most part, if you're with the group, like you're pretty much staying with your group the whole time, and you're like encouraging each other and like pushing each other to get through it. And like each person has different obstacles that they struggle with. Like we had people in our group that were really afraid of heights. And so like the super tall ones were a struggle for them.
Yeah.
Others had, claustrophobia. Others had, water fear, whatever it was. Each person kind of had different things that they were struggling with. And just
yours was just like the dirt. They were like, it's okay.
Yeah. The mud for me is, and the cold water. So that was the other one that was incredibly hard this year. So last year, the cold water was one of my favorite things.
Oh, funny.
Because it was towards the end of the race. I was so like warm and overheated at that point.
Okay.
Like, going into the cold water was super refreshing.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's shocking and chilling, but refreshing at the same time. This year, it was unbelievably cold. I cannot even express how cold it was. Like thank God people sign a waiver for this thing, because otherwise people have got it. Like there's got to be people getting hypothermia or whatever. Like it was crazy. Did you see the video?
I saw where you were in, it looked like like a giant puddle
Yeah.
of mud and ice, and you went like under the water, under a barrier and back
Yeah.
out or something. So you all had to go full full
Yep.
submersion.
Yep.
And then was that the main part, or was there more
Yeah.
ice
So
water?
you went under that barrier thing twice.
Ugh.
But you get in and it immediately takes your breath away.
I
Like
could
it's
see.
yeah.
I could see people like physically their whole bodies changed when they were in the water.
It was so shocking.
Oh
And
man.
you get in the water immediately, it's like, okay, I need to get out of this water as quickly as I possibly
Yeah.
can because this is unbearable.
Yeah.
It takes like cold plunges to a whole new level.
Right.
So the first one you're in ice water, there's ice all around you. You go under it, there's more ice, it gets colder. And then the third one, you get out in this area, and it's not even water at that point. It's just like ice. Like you're literally like digging your
No.
way out of ice. And it was crazy. Like I like couldn't breathe. I was like,
And your
it
whole team
was
did this? Everybody did it?
almost everybody did it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was crazy. So
Mm.
I was feeling personally like, wow, this was way colder than last year. And Eric agreed with me. This is way colder than last year.
Yeah.
I looked at the Instagram account for Tough Mudder, and there was my friend Chad sent this to me who did it with us yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And Chad, not Chab.
Sorry, was that a D or a B? P? Chap?
Chad with the D. Um, and he sent me the screenshot, and it was a video of people going into the water. And one of the comments was, "This was my 101st Tough Mudder I've ever done,
Okay.
and this was the coldest ice bath I've ever experienced by far."
Wow.
So for whatever reason, they just like took it to another level this year, and it was.
I feel like
crazy.
somebody was a new hire on setting up the Tough Mudder obstacle course, and
Yeah.
they did not know how to handle the ice bath. Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
crazy. There were a couple
Wow.
areas where Eric and I were feeling like there were a couple areas that were a little bit underwhelming compared to last year. Like
Oh,
we're like,
interesting.
oh, maybe there's budget cuts or something. And I think what
They put
happened
it in the
is
ice.
they put it in the ice.
Yeah.
They spent way more on ice than they did last
Oh
year.
my
So,
gosh. And it wasn't a hot day yesterday.
no,
It
it
was
honestly was decent weather for it.
okay.
Just because if it's too hot, it's like
Sure.
unpleasant.
Right.
But yeah, that ice bath was no joke.
Man.
But yeah, it was fun though. Very good team bonding. Everybody did great. Super just impressed with the whole group, and
That's
yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, you guys do anything to like hang out and celebrate, or everybody's like, I'm gonna go get warm. We're done now.
We did, yeah, we hung out for a little bit afterwards. There's all
Okay.
these like challenges they do on the stage. So people are doing like push-up challenges and stuff. And then there's all these vendors. So there's like actually it's funny, Paola, one of our agents at
Yeah.
Theory, she was working at one of the booths.
Oh, fun.
So I walked up, it was like a protein chip booth. So it was like each bag of chips has all this, it's like made out of chicken or something. So which I brought home a few bags because they were just like giving them away.
I love it.
And it's like guilt-free chips pretty much. But yeah, she was working at one of the booths, and
Oh, fun.
so yeah, I saw her for a little bit. But
Yeah.
so we kind of hung out. There's like a donut food trucks. We got some donuts.
Oh,
and,
that's awesome.
all definitely shared in our pain from the ice bath.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
fun.
That's
Those
awesome.
things are a blast. Like it literally, there's all these shows you can watch that are like the Ninja Warrior shows or
Right.
whatever, where they're
Right.
going through all these obstacles, and this
Yes.
kind of feels like you're in one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely recommend it. And it's not like it's really like it's not something you like have to train for. I would say like
Right.
anybody can do it, any athletic level. You don't have to run the whole time. You can totally walk.
Yeah.
You can skip any obstacles you want to.
Oh,
Like
interesting. Okay.
personally, I skipped one obstacle. I skipped they call it like electroshock therapy.
I'm
and
sorry.
It's like these hanging wires that are electrically charged. And
Yeah.
I did that. I did it last year, and it literally like knocked me to the ground, and very unpleasant for me last year. And I'm like, I don't need to do that one again. So I
Are there
skipped that one this
just
year.
like ambulance, EMT personnel like at every station?
Yeah,
This
I think
seems highly
they
dangerous.
save a lot of the more dangerous ones for the end, which is like
Okay.
near the start and finish line.
Yeah.
Where they do have like first aid people and everything. So
This
Yeah.
thought just came to my mind. It's so random, but also like, who came up with this? Like somebody was like, and not just this Tough Mudder, but like, Oh, she's missed you. Oh my gosh. Okay, time's up.
Time's up. No.
Time's up. No, I'm like, somebody came up with this.
Yeah.
Somebody came up with the Iron Man. Somebody came up with these like different, like, it's just so fascinating that people were
Yeah.
like,
That's true. Who were the first people to do each of these races?
Create this. What I've loved is every time you've done something like this, you talk about the community aspect and like how that to me seems like one of the pieces that you get the most enjoyment out of.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm like, I love that feeling of we're in this together, I don't know. There's something that just seems so special, especially when it's nice that you did this with people, but from the Ironman experience to have that sense with complete strangers is like really heartwarming. I think that's so special.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. People are good. There's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah. I love it. You're like bonding through pain,
Yes,
that's just
absolutely.
like naturally.
People call it the type 2 fun.
What?
Have you heard that before?
No.
It's like there's some things that are fun, which is just like everybody would probably agree, or these things are fun.
Yeah.
And then there's type 2 fun, which is like all of the people there yesterday, they paid to do this. Like nobody's forcing them to do it. They're choosing to go out there, to wake up early on a Sunday, to do these hard things.
Get shocked.
And and it is fun. Like they're fun activities. And so it's type 2 fun. Yeah.
Okay. That's funny.
Well, I'm going to go say hi to Stevie and Brian. And
always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Episode 7 in the books. Thank you, Jamie.
Awesome. See you later.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.